Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining today's session, maximizing your productivity with Smart Canvas and Google Docs. Today's session is a rehearsed session from the American Legion live session several weeks back with the same topic. That was well received by audience. My name is Satoshi, the Google Workspace Customer Success Manager for Japan and APAC as a host today. So before starting a session, let me share a few things. During a session, you can post questions in the YouTube chat box. Today's session is an open session, so we will not cover any non-disclosure agreement required question like a product roadmap question. Lastly, also thank you for your pre-posted questions. We will cover it at end of session as much as possible. All right. So let me hand over to today's presenter, Noriko-san. So Noriko-san, over to you.
Thank you, Sato-san. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Noriko. I'm a Google Workspace customer engineer for Japan. Today, I would like to explain about Smart Campers, one of the Google Docs functions, and I hope you learn something from my sessions. So, I'm going to be working through today how to maximize your productivity with Smart Canvas and Google Docs. We launched this product feature within our Google Docs product in 2021. And really, it works well to push Google Docs towards the next evolution of collaboration for Google Workspace. Our goal with Smart Canvas when we launched it back in 2021 was to make our documents more intelligent, more helpful, and more actionable as well. And you can see here just some of actual articles that actually came up over the last couple of years. I will say as we continue to evolve and innovate on top of what we've launched with Smart Campus. It's very exciting. Some of you all have said you did not know what Smart Campus. And so hopefully today will be a great introduction to those of you that don't know yet what Smart Campus is and have not been using it. And then for those who have been using it, I hope today is a great refresher as well as some great insights into how to use it even more. So let me start with kind of what is Smart Campus. I think often at times you have likely heard about Smart Campus or maybe seen Smart Campus on other documents that you've been working on, but may not actually realize what exactly is it. So the goal of today is to show you all more in terms of what that is and how you can start using it and how you can show your organization how to better take advantage of the capability that we have built within Google Docs. So Smart Canvas really in a nutshell is the collection of components that really boost collaboration and productivity by connecting objects and creating seamless journey across workspace. What does that actually mean? Well, at the end of the day, it's really two core components that I'll be talking about today. The first panel specifically being what we call Smart Campus building blocks, and I'll talk you all through that. And the second component being Smart Campus Smart Chips, which again I also walk you through. So if there are really two things to think about when you leave today's sessions, and when people are asking you about Smart Campus, tell us about Smart Campus building blocks and tell them I learned a lot about smart campers and smart chips as well. So let's dive in building blocks, which is the first kind of key area that I'll be diving into today. And you can think of building blocks from campus, building blocks as the ability for users to really quickly and effectively search their document. Building blocks with built-in so that they can integrate directly and seamlessly in the workspace apps as well. And of course, I'll show some example of this, but it's really starts to expand the basis of what a doc is. I think hopefully you all have seen the continued evolution of how people actually use doc in their workplace each day and every day. And no, even maybe 5 or 10 years ago, people are still printing a lot of things and bringing them into meetings. But now, of course, as people continuously adapted onto cloud-based products like Google Docs, the idea of sprinting became less and less a necessity. And what then happens is that users can now start in this digital canvas in the digital world a lot more. And what that allows us to do within products like Docs is to really expand that basis of what the Docs is and start to create a lot more dynamic and interactive experience. Hope I like this one out and so on. Really, what a user can do with these building blocks is to start quickly draft for email, example, can do brainstorming session. We can take quick notes. It's really step to bring together a lot of these connected and differentiated experience as well within the product. So I'm going to ahead to start working you all through more around how you can take advantage of these building blocks and how you can take advantage of smart canvas in your everyday workflows. So the first key things is to know here is an entry point again. Hopefully you have seen this and hopefully you have been starting to do this. If you now can even try joining it right now and go ahead and hit add sign in your Google Docs. If you're having it open and you can actually see what we call this. Entry point dialog allows users to start to select points, select options, basically give you the ability to select those building blocks or those smart chips. And the ability for you to do that is really anywhere within the doc. It's going to be the quickest and the furthest way for you to get to smart canvas. Users can also go into the insert menu and actually insert the building blocks as well as my chips directly into through the docs that way. But I like to prefer to use at sign. It's a lot quicker and a lot easier for me to actually to get what I needed to do. In addition to smart canvas building blocks as well as smart chips, you also have the ability to get access into some of the other most commonly used formatting options as well. So let's say you wanted to insert a table, for example, you can actually do a table as well, or you wanted to actually insert a heading, you can actually do a heading to actually to get to some of these quick things as well. So really think of it as a quick way for you to get access to some of our most powerful features within Google Docs. Okay, and definitely I feel free to play with it. You'll actually see a lot of cool things that I'm showing you today, and I'll just probably discover a bunch of things that I don't have time to go into as well. Okay, so the first first smart canvas building block that I want to talk about is what we call the smart canvas Gmail draft or email draft building block. The use case for this function are when you needed to send a big email to a wide group or maybe an executive audience, right? And typically, when you needed to do those, often at time you needed to collaborate with your colleagues on figuring out what to actually send out. Proofread, it makes sure you actually have everything covered. And so the way to do this is to take advantage of collaborative features that we build into our ATAS products. And specifically with docs, so what we have here is if you actually do an email draft, what will pop up is essentially this table that you send on the right hand side that will essentially allow you to draft an email. You can put in the actual people that you want to actually send it to. And also you can have your CC or your BCC, and then you can start writing your text. And within starting writing your text, you can take all the advantage of all the things that we built in docs, like smart compose or a grammar check and so on. That will help you again create hopefully the best email that you can send out. Then you can also share the docs. You can tag user into doc. You can take advantage of our commenting feature within the docs to actually collaborate them with colleagues before actually sending out the email. And the last things I want to mention here that is kind of small things is that we've integrated this directory into Gmail as well. So on this particular button that you've seen over here, on the upper left hand side, once you click on that, you actually be taken directly into Gmail dialog that essentially allows you to just send the email. You can continue to make tweaks, obviously, if you needed to. That will take advantage that you populated within the actual docs within the draft and then push it directly into Gmail so you don't have to do many more copying and pasting if that's what you are doing today. So you don't have to look at who are actually sending it because everything is actually uploaded from Google Docs into Gmail. So the next building blocks that I'll talk about here is calendar draft. So this feature is relatively new among our building blocks functions. It's similar to the email drafts that I mentioned before. Now, as creating this calendar draft, and again, this use case are typically going to be when you needed to schedule a big team outside, maybe a summit. You got a lot of people coming together to collaborate again on planning what that summit is or that offsite is. And so it's a really, again, easy way for users to collaborate on calendar event within the calendar event you can set. As same as Gmail draft, once you hit the calendar button at the left upper side, all you prepare in the docs will be pulled into calendar draft. Your title you set, your guest you set, your start time or end time or location and description. And we have the same type of direct integration back into calendar as well. So again, this take away helpful some of the lot of tasks that users do likely today around copy and pasting from one document to another one or one document to calendar or into Gmail. And in directory puts user into the actual products that we've integrate directory with and again allows you to take advantage of all the collaborative features that you've got built into our docs today. The next one over here for building blocks that I am talking about is meeting nodes. And actually, this is probably one of my favorite building blocks that I use pretty much time every day. And it's often the question that users ask when you're in the meeting today. Hey, did anyone takes notes? Really, I will say at the end of the day, every meeting should have notes, and we've made it super easy for users to create this note within Docs so that we have general template there. So that user can then just fill in obviously, then the notes as well as the action items that appear within the templates that we've done with meeting notes. As our users can actually go into your doc, hit your assign stay at the meeting notes, and be able to select from a number of upcoming meetings that you have on your schedule. And what we do once we put it into this particular building blocks is that we obviously have the date, we have the title to what your actual meeting is. We all put in the attendees. We know who's attending. We know who's not attending, as well as pull in the attachment files, right? So all of these things that you're likely doing on a manual basis today, we do with one simple action for the users to do, which is just a meeting notes. I should mention there also a couple of other ways to actually trigger this, and hopefully users have started to see this already. But you can also trigger meeting notes directly from the calendar invites as well. It does the exact same action that you would whether you started the docs first if you don't have the docs already or those meeting notes, and you get ready to actually join your meeting from calendar. You see the you see the take meeting notes, and you can actually click on that, and it creates the same things, creates a brand new document directory for users to actually use. So really at that point, the meeting notes attach now the current invite. It also attach along with all files that are associated to the calendar, and users can essentially collaborate and take notes in real time and what again. I hope many of you I hope many of you are already taking advantage of the ability to cooperate directly in real time with meeting notes. Is an awesome feature that a lot of users take advantage of the other things. I should mention, especially on meeting, this is that we've done a lot of improvement from the initial release that we did with meeting notes as well. We now support actually recurring meeting as well. So again, a lot of you may have one-on-one for those meetings, or maybe it's quarterly board meeting that happen. You can now actually use the same document and leverage the meeting notes template that we built in through the building blocks and actually trigger off recurring meeting as well. So again, not having to go scramble, not having to go create a new document. But leveraging the actual menu wasn't here. It's actually triggered directly through these three dots over there that allow you to then select the upcoming meetings that will be happening here as well. The other key things that we've launched was the ability to actually attach files. So take an instance where you join a meeting, somebody presented, but the document or the slides presentation that was presented in the meeting was not actually attached into the calendar invites. So what then happened in the particular case, somebody taking notes and then they attach into the notes. Well, in this particular case, now we can actually do by syncing Boris Way directory with docs as well as calendar. And so users can actually attach a file directory within the meeting notes, and then we can actually sync it back into calendar as well. So again, just trying to take away some of those instances where you have to navigate between multiple tabs. A lot of people have multiple tabs as well, and they cannot find certain things. So we try to make it as easier as possible for you to kind of complete this workflow as quickly and efficiently as possible. Yeah, it's very exciting. Again, one of these things that I say hopefully everyone on this call will likely use, if not have already used or will use on a daily basis. And again, I think I forgot to put in the actual trigger sign. It's just a middle note, and you should be able to see it. All right, let's keep doing. Okay, so the next building blocks that we have in our project roadmap building blocks. So really, this is if you think about scenario where you have a document and you actually want to use that document to track the actual states of all the project that are going to within your organization. I would say this is a very basic project management tracker building block. It got basic tables, it's got drop down that are building within actual tables, and users can obviously update and modify these tables as needed as well. The great things about using project roadmap within Docs is that oftentimes you have a number of other things that are actually put about the actual project within a single document. So now you can start to consolidate all the different areas where you are actually managing project into hopefully a single document. The next one here we have is our smart campus, building blocks label tracker. This label tracker thinks of it as when users are asking if somebody's approved a document, something that's commonly done. I would say in a workplace day, and again, it creates very straightforward table here that allow user to add in Libya's tracks as status as well as add additional nodes to this as well. And you can start to think about how these building blocks can also apply directly into your daily workflows. Because a lot of users today are maybe doing things like, highlighting a particular comment or going in and highlighting the title of the document, commenting someone and saying you want to assign it and say, hey, would you mind actually reviewing this? We start to formalize this a little bit more for users so that you can start to take advantage of how the document works and how the document interacts with the colleagues that you need to collaborate with. You can still do the same things here as well. You can create this table, put in maybe at a particular level in the actual level list, and then tag them in the same way that you've been doing comments as well. But again, structure it now in a way that makes it a lot easier for users and your collaborators to hopefully see what they need to do and take the action on the things that they actually need to do, as we're super excited and something that I honestly use obviously all the time as well. I think this is the last one over here. Is a really exciting feature that we launched months ago. It's custom building blocks. So what I work you all through just now is a number of different building blocks that we within Google. have actually set up within Google Docs have for users, knowing that we think and we believe and we see that users are actually leveraging a lot of these key features and workflows and tasks to actually help in their daily workflow. But you know, we can't cover every single use case that every single person was in this world. So what we've done here was splitting the ability for users to create their own custom building blocks. And this key use case, think of the scenario or think of all the time when you are constantly recreating maybe scenario in a document. Maybe it's a particular way you need to document to look and fill, and you have certain section that then have tables underneath or different summaries underneath that or text blocks underneath that, and you need to use that over and over again. Well, what you can do now is you can actually create your own building block within Google Docs, assign a particular name, give it a quick description, and then actually access it in the same way that I've been talking about through that assign those building blocks so that you can use it in all of your docs going forward as well as your docs in the past. What I've seen a lot of users do is often, simple tables as well. Maybe it's that project tracker table that I showed earlier. But for example, instead of having those for columns, you actually have 5 or 6, and you have different way that you want to actually format it. And so what you can actually do is say, hey, I want to create my own project tracker task list and create it yourself, highlight it, save it as a custom building blocks, and then have the ability to just use that building blocks going forward. Well, we've also building was in the custom building blocks feature, and is the ability for you to fully manage that building blocks as well. So for whatever reason, let's say you don't need that building blocks anymore, you don't want to clutter the list of building blocks that you have available for you actually use, you can actually go and delete that exact building blocks. Let's say you wanted to update it because maybe instead of status, now you want to call it, review tracker. And what you can do is you can actually go into the instance of the building blocks that we've saved for you, actually edited directory, and then use it again going forward within the updated building blocks functionality. So I'm so happy that you started or will start to use this building blocks, which is something that have been asked by a number of customers. Uh, Again, just knowing that we are never going to be able to actually building every single use case that users want. Okay, all right. So that next part of the smart campus really focus on around what we refer to smart chips as smart chips. And with the smart chips again, hopefully you have started to see some of these things, especially with things like file chips and paper chips. Essentially things of smart chips now as it is essentially a structured data type that will allow user to really connected object and also have potentially non-text interaction as well. So going back to what I mentioned earlier in the time of evolution of how users are using documents, you can not interact necessarily with a piece of paper, but you can very much interact with a digital canvas. You can start to actually trigger different things for users to actually to actually do to help your collaborate. And I would say at the end of the user is also delight your users as well with things like voting chips, which I'll explain about later on as well. But what we've done here with Smart Chips is we've started to bring together a lot of different types of data into Google Docs to drive collaboration and connection between products. These chips can allow you to really see also connected metadata. So things like when you hover over a particular chips, or maybe when you click on a particular chips, you can actually start to see more than just the person themselves, but also the details about who that person is. Other things that I mentioned earlier as well, we can make this, and we have made these chips very much interactive as well. You can see here with the example in the upper left hand side as a timer chips. And what user can do is they can actually insert chips and then actually hit the start button and actually interact and do our full countdown. And it will let the users know when the actual timer then run out. So I worked through a number of these things, but think of smart chips as this collaboration of individual components that can now actually even live within your building blocks or just within a document by itself. So I work here through some of the most popular drop-down chips. Uh, So the first one I'll be working through is the drop-down chip. This chips is pretty much what you think is probably is, which is the ability to create drop-down very quickly and very easily with Google Docs. Drop-down chips typically are used to do things like update status or of the document. Maybe it's a project, or maybe you just have set up options of things that you want to allow user to choose from. What we do now is allow you to essentially build and customize these drop-down chips. However, you can add more. I think we default depends upon some of the default chips that we have. Things like project status will default to a certain set, but you can always add you you can always add, or you can always edit. You can change the color or carve this, and you can make this whatever you actually needed to be to accomplish the things that you needed to get done. But Dropdown chips something that I think I don't realize how often it can be used until you start using it. So definitely in the next document, give it a short try it out. Maybe just like any say status of document is a very basic one that a lot of users use today. The next one here is the people chips. At the end of the day, collaboration is done with your colleagues, and you work with your colleagues each day and each single day. And one of the most popular trips that we have today, those people chips, the way that user can actually insert people chips, again, use that assign once you hit the assign. You can actually just type in the name of the person you want to actually reference, and it will create what we call these people chips that have the ability to put in the additional metadata. And I mentioned to show you more information about the particular user. So I can think of use case now, or maybe the meeting that you're in, and there is, 10 or 20 people in the meeting, and you don't know who everybody is. Well, now in that meeting notes templates that I showed you, we actually take advantage of those people chips and will actually show you all the people that are in it. You can actually hover directly over maybe somebody like Chris and immediately now see this is the user experience, designer that I've been meaning to get to actually set up our meeting with instead of you now having to go maybe to your company internet or go ask another person, hey, who is this person? You can now start to see a lot more information and get quicker access into potential things like, for example, I need to reach out to Chris as well. So we have simple quick actions like email or chat, or you can start meeting, instance meeting, or you can schedule a calendar invite as well directly with these users. All from within this chips, very exciting. I would say obviously it also depends on the data that is stored about that particular user as well within your organization. So the more information that you have within the organization about who that person is, the more information that we can actually show when the user actually does that harvest state, right? So things like title things like location or phone number and so on, or things that are basically plugged in from how you manage your company and or your organization's users and your contacts, so that user can actually pull and product pro and directory access these people curved directory from the doc. So the next one is next here is the file chips. Fire chips, again, another popular chips of ours. Chips, um, they can be created both again also from that at sign directory or when you paste a URL into the document. Like we've also started to building within the app or some basic research capability within the app to allow user again to more quickly accomplish the tasks that they are needed to write. So let's say you're writing a document about this and you needed to actually reference it. What you are likely doing today is that you either have the tab open maybe in a different tab, so you go to go find it, or you don't have it. You go to Drive, or maybe you go to the doc homepage and you go look for this document, right? So once you go find that test document, then you'll likely open that document, copy the URL, and go back to your original document and then paste it in right. And you can see just from that our task that is done over and over and over again, likely for most of our users, that we saw the ability to really boost and improve your productivity by allowing you to just reference that document directory when you are in the actual document that you are working on. And so, really, the actual benefits also that you get from inserting these file chips are also going to be things like a previous state as well. So, what you see here is an example of what happened when the user actually hover over that task document. And so they can instantly see now the task document. There is actually a copy URL link that tells you who the owner is. It tells you when the last change are actually done, and it gives you a little snapshot of what the document is, so that users can actually reference it a lot quicker as well. So really nice feature. I will say, the next time I that you're thinking about hyperlinking a particular file to it, to a particular file to a text string, try using file chips as well, right? And we've also done a number of things knowing that users sometimes will actually just paste out the URL, and a lot of these things, users have to get used to using smart chips and smart canvas components. So we know that when user paste, we have smart logic to actually detect, hey, this user actually paste a URL of the document, and so user can actually hit the tab button, which is what you see on the top here, to actually replace the URL stream with the actual file chips as well. Okay, the next one is to work through is date chips, and so date chips is really a quick and easy way for you to add dates directly into your documents. These dates can actually be interactive so that you can actually check to see, or actually change the dates as needed. And then you can also do basic data ranges as well for quick, interesting, you quick inserting. You can do things like today's data. You can do tomorrow's or do the next week, and you actually do quick logic based off of where user puts in. We've also started to add things like times as well. So you can start thinking about how this is useful for things like calendar event draws. So not only do I obviously want to have a date, but I also want to have a time for when the meeting is, obviously. So user can now start the combine both data, a date and time directly into this, and start to reference a lot of this as well for users. The next one is the clips that we call calendar event. So these are clips that directly reference meeting calendar events that you have already set up with Google Calendar. And which of those scripts now directly go and link directory go and link directly to calendar. Typically, I think what we've seen is these are perfect for managing when you're having a large set of events. So let's think back to the summit example we mentioned before about earlier immersion. Now you have a summit, you have a summit calendar. You've got 2 weeks of meetings and events. Now you can actually create a document that actually has a story of what all of those meetings are going to be throughout your summit. And then use smart chips as quick reference for ways for users to access those meetings events directory. So it's very easy to do this. You can just do at the meeting name, do at the event name, if you remember the event name as well. Else you can just do at something like lunch. It should pop up and you can select it. One other thing that we've actually built into this feature as well, knowing that users may actually friends with this within maybe even a single meeting, knowing that I have launched meeting with Shuri. Maybe I started a document, so I can start taking some quick notes. When what we'll do is once you actually trigger this launch meeting with Shuri, will actually ask you to as well if you want to create a meeting notes building blocks as well. So again, trying to adjust and trying to be contextual with our users in the moments. that they actually needed to leverage a lot of these key functionalities and features that we wanted our users to really discover and to use. So having this tie-in are just natural components of how we can see user really taking advantage of all the building blocks and smart chips features that we have. The next chips that I'll working through this the map chips. This is again now the certain the ability to have simple map chips. This is when you needed to preference the location. This is when you need a reference location. For example, we actually have a direct integration into Google Maps, so we can reference really any location. I would say in the world, those locations are searchable directories through the S sign as well. So again, I can just do at Paris, and you can just select it and go ahead. And what it does is create an actual chips that when the users hover again over it or click on it, they can actually see the things like actual preview from Google Maps. You can actually do directions as well. So it's a great way to say again, going back to the summit example. Now you've got my summit draft ready. I've got our events now planned out. And not only do I have the events, but I also have the location of these events accessible directory within the stock. And if user needed to get direction to where they needed to go, for company dinner example, user can actually just go straight from the here click on the link takes you directly into Google Maps where you can see quick direction to how to get there. So really easy and fun and powerful direct integration and as I mentioned earlier as well. The next one is the assigned task chips. And what we are decided to do really with things start to integrate our checkbox ability with Google Task and really think of it as the ability for you to helpful boost how you manage your action items and your to do. You're in a meeting notes document or you're actually in the meeting. You're taking your notes and you have next steps that you needed to actually define. You can start adding the directory within the meta nodes building blocks. And as you adding each of those particular checklist items into the meta nodes, what you're starting, what you're start to see is the ability for us to convert these action items into our Google Task. So what happens it again to two-way integration, or you can actually assign this task to particular user within your organization. You can actually even assign a due date as well for that particular user, and then what is does it then it create actual Google task for users to accomplish and to do. You can create this not only just for yourself, but you can assign this. And the next one is the timer chips. So really these are one of those interactive chips that I mentioned earlier today. As well, user can now actually go click down timers and it's really great for all what I've used in the past now for brainstorming session collaborating. Means where you essentially have breakout groups, right? And within this breakout groups, you say, okay, everybody go 5 minutes to come up with as many ideas as possible. So you can quickly now do a timer or default, I believe to 5 minutes currently today, but you can adjust it anything that you want to be. Maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's 10 seconds and something like that. And it's quick one. It's automatic actually done an actual toast countdown come up on the bottom of that page to let the users know that the actual time is done. And also, very interactive as well. Like we also have stopwatch. Chips was is again similar to timer, but now we are counting up versus counting down. And what we've seen a lot of user cases for things like this are particular things like, let's say you're doing a big presentation like this one right now, and I need to practice going through an actual deck. I need to practice going through that I'm actually going to say. So I've narrowed exactly what I want to say in the Google Docs. And then I'm actually going to go through it. And so what you can actually do is trigger our stopwatch chips, and within the that's the stopwatch chips, it exactly what you think is probably needed to do, which is just starts a timer. When once you're actually done, you can hit stop, and you can see over time. So again, just taking away some of the things that we've actually seen many users do, where maybe I have document I'm presenting. And also, this is one of the fun chips among our smart chips. This is emoji chips. We've got things like commented emoji, which is what you see over here as well. But we've also got things you call voting chips, and the ability for actual users to create things like a table, and maybe it's a brainstorming table, and then within their brain state brainstorming table, you now have a column that you want to call boarding, and you invited 20 people into the document now, instead of users having type in yes or something like that. I like to use this one, or type in comment or say plus one to this. They can just easily now have voting chips. And I think this is maybe the last one, but one of the another new feature Rancher months ago. This is a variable that I hope you have seen or heard about now, and user now having the ability to actually insert dynamic variables into your Google document. So I believe this is an example for invoice, or you have, you know, let's just say 5 different products you reference it directly into your actual invoice itself, but then it's also referenced later down below here as well on your thank you comment as well, so on. And this is the last slide. Let me explain about 3P smart chips. This is very exciting for us as well, because we are understanding and we know that you're using products like Google Docs. You're also probably using other 3P products as well. You are probably not doing everything just like workspace. As much as we would love for you to do that, you're probably also working on things like, let's just say Salesforce or Asana or different tools out there that help you to things like backtracking, for example. Well, we've done now is created the ability for partners and developers to create what we are calling 3P smart chips as well. So if you think back to what I mentioned earlier about for chips, and now and how user like to just paste URL into docs. Okay, that's all from my section. So let's move to the Q&A session. We received some pre-submitted questions question from the audience. So um, I want to answer some question with my colleagues Silly and Alok. Okay, so first question. So, what are the boundaries of smart campus? For example, when you talk about the smart campus, which are exact feature or in the reference versus not. So, thank you for asking this question. As we talked during this today's sessions, smart campus is a collection of components that boost collaboration and productivity by connecting object and create a seamless journey across workspace and beyond. And the next one is, are you able to explain how to store structured data in Google? In Google, it feels like it's missing the maps or a confluence to be able to look for relevant content on that topic. Also, thank you for your comment. Actually, we are prepare and the we are prepare Google site for organizing the topics and contents or any information you want to share. So please try it in your environment. Okay, so the next question about the details on Google Workspace documentation. So okay, actually today I will explain about the especially smart chips. So actually, during today's session, we can explain whole details of Google Docs. So you can refer the Google Workspace Learning Center, and you can learn a lot of things there. Okay, so the first question is about the code block. So actually, I haven't mentioned in my session, but we are also prepared a code block function. So it is also possible to insert code block with building blocks such as JavaScript, Python, and so on. So please hit the assign and typing on code block there. So please try it. Okay. The next one is on how to access the advantage of smart canvas and building blocks to create at home. Is there any documentation with API access? Thank you for your question. Actually, it's a good question. So could you post this question into the community? Actually, we prepare for the users the documentation for using building blocks as our end users, but you can get some more hint from the committees, I think. Okay, so over to Sally, and could you answer some of those questions?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Norika. Thanks for that. So, since we are running pretty tight on the time, I'll just be very quick. Uh, to know more about the AI functionalities, you can check out the link that will be shared in the comment session that has more information about the AI functionality for Google Workspace. Moving on to any limitation with smart canvas. So currently, the smart canvas, the tools that Norika has explained in today's video is available on Google Docs and Sheets at the moment, but it's not available on the slides. Uh, that being said, there is no specific limitation as like you should have only X number of smart canvas on your document. So currently, it's kind of you can add as much as you want on your docs. And moving to the last one, how do we maintain this AI to be foolproof? So in Google, we follow something called as Google's AI principle, which is a set of guidelines that the company follows when developing and using AI. So these principles include things like ensuring that AI is used for good, that is transparent and accountable, and it respects people's privacy and also diversity. So to know more about what responsible AI means, you can check on the link that I will be sharing in the comment shortly. So over to you, Norika. I think we answered pretty much.
Yeah, thank you for asking some question, and also we have a lot of more question via chat, so you can please post the question into the community page, and also we will answer your question. And for before wrapping up, yeah, I'll hand over to Satoshi-san.
Thank you for great presentation, Noriko-san. And thank you so much, Suri. And I love to support to answer live questions. So before wrapping up, let me quickly share some information. Please click next. Yes, thank you.
Yep.
The first thing is there is a Google Workspace community link. So you can post your questions and communicate with not only Google people, but also the worldwide Workspace customers. And you can see in this link what is the upcoming the Workspace event schedule. So that is a small things to share at the end of the session. So thanks again. Thank you so much for your time today. And please have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.